Hello again. I thought I'd make another video whilst I'm at work. So this time I'm in the works van. So sometimes I do go out on the road, it's not so often, but 1 or 2 times a week. But this is like a bonus ad hoc thing. So I live in Nuneaton, I commute to Coventry and back, do the windows up, and I've just been to Redditch. I'm on my way out and going back now, so I've got about 40 minutes, which I ain't going to be talking for 40 minutes, I ain't going to bore you that long. But it gives me a bit of time again to make a little video. Why not? I'm driving by myself, little vape. Prefer baccy though. I do smoke a little bit, but not that much. So what I want to talk about this time, going on from what I was on about before, briefly, is food and nutrition. I'm not an expert, I've not done any official courses, but I don't believe that you need to either. I'm a very big believer that, especially in today's age, you don't need to pay loads of money for courses to learn things. There's no point. There just isn't much point. A lot of the time you're learning things from institutions, so you get their narrative, which is okay in one sense, but it's very limited. It boxes your mind in. Now it's very narrow-minded. It's often pushing agendas. It's not always truthful completely. So if you research things from different angles, you've got more chance of finding what the truth is. You will get called a conspiracy theorist once in a while, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist in my own mind. I'll just research lots of different angles, and then you get crosshairs, don't you? So I'm going to give you a quick story. Most of my life I've been a fat blob. I still am, but nowhere near like I was. I've always been a chunky monkey, and I've always been trying to get my body in shape, and I've made progress. It's like you lose a bit of fat, you gain a bit of fitness, you gain a bit of muscle strength, whatever, but never really got to where I wanted to get to. Still haven't. There's always something that thwarts it. You go to the gym, you go running, you get yourself on a diet type program or whatever, and you make progress here and there, but something always puts a big fat spanner in the works, right? Touch that, and it's annoying. It's difficult. So what do you do about it? Well, sometimes you have to learn through trial and error. Research is going to get you so far. Sometimes you just have to try things. Everybody's body is a little bit different. Our physiology, although generally speaking is the same, it's a little bit different. It's like cars and vehicles. They're all generally the same, with the internal combustion engine, or electric now, whatever. But, there's differences. So, growing up, I'm sure you have the same thing. From television, school, books, whatever, you've taught the food pyramid. It doesn't work for everybody. It certainly doesn't work for me. That was more an issue to try and sell food. They had the excess of grains, and they wanted to flog them, basically. It was more of an economic issue, get people eating all the surplus food, which kind of makes sense, but it didn't do much for our health. If you look at the graphs, right, when you look at when seed oils came into the food supply, and lots of extra grains, it kind of correlates quite strongly with health issues. Not strictly, but very strongly, which is another thing you can research if you want to. So anyway, point is, the food pyramid says we eat low fat, low fat, low fat, low fat. Fat is evil, right? And eat lots and lots of bread and carbs. Well, if you do the calorie restriction thing, which is what we've all taught, yes, you will lose weight, but you always get to a certain point, you get to that plateau where you can't break the wall, right? And that's the difficult bit, because when you get to that, it's hard to get past it. So how do you? What I found out in my experience is, you start to lose weight, you lose muscle mass as well as fat at the same time, and that's where the problem comes in. Because when you lose your muscle mass, like I said, your metabolic rate drops, which means you can't burn calories as quick, which means you retain more energy and you put fat on easier. And that's the issue with it. Since I started doing it the other method, I managed to keep the fat off and retain the muscle and health. Right? So, it turns out low carbohydrate is the way to go for a lot of people. It works for me, it works for other people. And what I found out as well is, if you are naturally a chunky monkey and you put weight on easy and you can't lose it easy and all this lot, it's what they call insulin resistant. So whenever you eat food, right, your body secretes insulin, which then breaks that down, turns into glycogen, which is basically a sugar carb, and puts it into your muscles and your brain and all the rest of it to fuel your system. Right? But when there's an excess of insulin, your body then decides, okay, we're going to shut off the fat reserves, because we don't need to access the fat on our body, because funny enough, we've got plenty of energy here. So So that's what it does. So you can't access the fat in your body when you've got too much insulin in your system. And what causes too much insulin is too much carbohydrate. Right? You can get a lot of insulin by eating too much protein, but you need to eat a lot more protein for that to happen. So I've found the ketogenic diet or the carnivore diet, or just generally just drop your carbs a little bit, all helps a lot. And the other thing that helps me is intermittent fasting. What that means is you don't eat in the mornings essentially, or whenever you choose to, but on the whole, excuse me, if you decide to skip breakfast, you will make some progress. And that's another thing, skipping breakfast helps. We've all been told breakfast is the most important meal of the day. No, it's not. It only makes sense if you're going to, let's say, use the food for a rigorous exercise or massive hike or something. Then okay, it makes sense to have breakfast. But in general living, if you're just doing like what I'm doing at the moment, just driving, walking somewhere, a bit of light work, you don't need breakfast. There's plenty of energy on your body. Unless you're super skinny, then in which case it makes more sense to eat breakfast. Right? This is what I've always found. And again, if you intermittently fast, if you do it long enough, your body then, your growth hormone and your testosterone and all that goes up, which means it retains the muscle easier, builds the muscle easier, chews the fat easier, and you make more progress. So I find whenever I, let's say, eat lots of meat and fat, including saturated fat, that's another thing I'll come to in a minute, right? And I drop the carbohydrates, I do well with a certain amount of vegetables, no problem. Some people don't. Some people have issues with vegetables because it causes them lots of problems. There's oxalates and anti-nutrients supposedly, but I've never really had much of a bother with veggies, so I'm happy to eat them. But I find this works. Just drop the carbs a little bit. And the other thing you might have noticed, when you eat carbohydrates, do you ever notice you get hungry, like real quick? Right? So the other thing is, when you eat carbohydrates and your insulin spikes quicker, you will find that your hunger goes up because there's two hormones, leptin and ghrelin. Right? Ghrelin is basically the hormone that makes you feel hungry, and leptin is one that makes you feel like you're not hungry anymore. So I remember it, ghrelin, growling, because in your stomach's growling, leptin, let go, drop your plate, leave it alone, you had enough. That's how I remember it. So when you eat carbs, they go loopy, you're always hungry. Right, at some point you won't be, and then what happens is, because your insulin's still high, you get hungry again because your body's like, I want these nutrients, but it can't really access them. That's what I found, again through lots of research and trial and error with my own body. Right, but yet when you eat something that's high fat, and like sometimes high protein or moderate protein, your hunger goes for hours. That's what I've found. So perfect brekkie for me, or first meal, would be an omelette, a bunch of eggs, and a bit of meat. This works for me. I'm on the wrong road here. Lumpy as shit. Vroom vroom. Let's go. So I'm going to eat some carbs now. KitKat. Chunky one. Not as big as it used to be. Everything gets smaller, doesn't it? Shrinkflation. I don't know why I like gone mad on KitKats lately. Oh yeah. Yum 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 yum. One bit. Yeah. Oh, I'll slow down now. Rubbish. I guess that's your lesson for the day. See you in a bit.